Bart Ehrman agrees with what I'm saying.
Sure, Jesus Christ existed as an apocalyptic preacher.
Right.
That is his,
and he was crucified under
argument.
Pontius Pilate, and his followers genuinely believe. I know this because one of the arguments that Bart Ehrman does to say this is more likely than a resurrection is to say that Jesus had a twin brother.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. That is on his debate with William Lane Craig.
Oh, dude, no.
I'll bet you $1,000 he used that debate.
I'll take that bet. He does not.
Okay, hold on. You're taking that bet?
Sure.
Because I'm going to pull it up. And if he says right now that Jesus had a twin brother in his debate with William Lane Craig, you're going to transfer me $1,000. All right, what's up, bro?
Not too much. I've been following your channel for a while.
I know. I see your comments.
No, I'm talking like years though. But yeah, basically, I guess one thing that I've always kind of wanted to ask you about is kind of just your like, how do I put this exactly? Kind of like your goal as far as how you view, the truth. Like, or how do you value the reality of the situation that we find ourselves in at this time? And, when you look at the Bible and you look at all of the different religions that we see across the world, why do you feel so confident that, I remember that you've said that you were an atheist and then you've become a Christian, which I kind of don't believe that you were, an honest atheist, to be honest with you. But
I wasn't honest? How was I dishonest?
Well, I struggle to see a world where you would fully understand what it means to be.
So isn't that like Christians saying to people who leave the faith, well, you never really were a true Christian? Aren't you kind of stooping to that low level of like intelligence?
I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I was a Jehovah's Witness for about 25 years before I left and became an atheist. And I mean, I don't even like that term, honestly. But I would say my goal in life is to be as intellectually honest about my conclusions as I possibly can.
Yeah, that's fine. You're not answering my question. When you say to somebody you were never a true atheist, isn't it the same thing as a Christian saying you were never a true Christian?
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, it's a dick thing to say.
Okay.
Like, let's be honest, bro. I think it's a jerk thing to say on both sides.
Okay. Well, I can take that back. I apologize.
No, you're good, bro. You're good.
But I just kind of want to follow that up with intellectual honesty and like doing our best to come to the most honest and likely conclusion. Would you agree that that's kind of your goal?
Yeah. So I want to believe as many true things as possible. Right.
And so when we begin to create a planet of belief, in your mind, I guess I'm curious, like, because you were an atheist and you've come to Christian. Actually, I'm curious, what brand of Christian are you? Like Catholic or?
I keep it close to my heart because I don't want people to judge me based off my denomination. I want them to judge me on my fruit.
Sure. Okay, cool. But you're obviously, you believe in the Trinity. You believe, do you believe that the Bible is like the inerrant word of God?
No, I don't think it's inerrant. Now it's inerrant as in like, it's not like theologically corrupt. It doesn't like doesn't get like big things wrong, but it has like minor contradictions, minor copyright errors, things like that.
Okay. Do you believe in evolution?
I believe in evolution, yes.
Okay. Do you believe in a flood that was, global flood that happened 5,000 years ago?
No, I think it was more likely a local flood.
Okay.
Now I'm actually reading some literature that says the flood may even be parable. I'm not convinced of that. I still think it was a real flood that happened, but the literature is very convincing on why it could be parable. So I may switch my view. I don't know.
Okay. I'll be honest with you, because I come from a background where, the religion I grew up in was very literal and believed in a lot of these sort of things that I don't believe are or have any sort of evidence. It's kind of harder when I kind of get into these subjects with people like you who definitely find more of a nuance to the Bible. But I guess my question there would be, if there is a God that has written a book that determines whether or not we are going to find eternal salvation, why is it not? Why is there errors in it?
I don't think God wrote the book.
Sure, but you believe he inspired it.
Yeah, so inspiration just means like right now you could be inspired by me to write something and then you go off and write it. That doesn't mean I put the words on the page.
Okay, but if I wanted to, this arguably our lives depend on our belief in this Bible, correct?
No, like there's a large part of it. Ultimately it comes down at the end of the day of your heart posture, if you're willing to accept Christ or not.
So do you believe in like heaven and hell? Like what happens after we die?
I do believe in a heaven and hell, yes.
Okay, so if we, but you're also kind of talking about like heart posture, and so like how, if you're a good person but don't necessarily accept Jesus,
yes,
you may not go to hell.
Yeah, I don't think ignorance is going to send you to hell. It's going to be the act of rejection. Now, you don't get to loophole God and trick him, and like at the end of the day, it's just like trying not to go to hell. Go like, oh yeah, I accept you, I love you. It has to be like a genuine love, a genuine relationship that you want with him.
Okay. But I guess just kind of going back to that previous thought, like if you wrote a book that, determined if a person was going to, end up eternally tormented, or they were going to, end up in heaven, you wrote a book that determined a whole lot of stuff for the human, everyone's life experience. Why would you write a book that contained errors and contradictions?
Yeah, so I already answered that question. I don't think God wrote the book.
Okay. He inspired the book, but why would he allow it to contain this stuff, even though he is not the one that wrote it? Sure.
Yeah,
but
same reason God allows every mistake and error that we do, because we have freedom and we have free will, and we get to rule over this plane. It was given to us to rule, so we shouldn't be upset when he allows us to do that.
Answer, man. That's not a good answer, because at the end of the day, he could have inspired.
How's that a cop-out answer? God could have done a lot of things. God could have just walked around dictating to us all 24/7. Everything at all times. He chose not to, because again, he gave us a dominion to rule over.
Okay, but why would he not give us a better reason? Because like I think
it's a good reason. I think it's strong evidence. You don't.
I strongly disagree with the fact. I think there's absolutely no good evidence to believe that the Bible is inspired of God whatsoever. Yeah. I think the evidence is very poor, and I know I've watched almost all of your videos, and I know a big thing for you is the resurrection. It's the eyewitnesses. It is. A lot of it centers around the Gospels, and
okay. So let me just sum it up on whether or not it's good evidence. Do you have a naturalistic explanation for what happened on Easter morning?
Absolutely. I think there's plenty of other explanations.
Okay, so what is your naturalistic explanation that explains all the data for what happened on Easter morning 2,000 years ago?
Hold on. I feel like you're going to trap me with my answer here. What are you asking? Like,
I'm not trapping you. You said it's not good evidence. So I think it's good evidence, and I think the symmetry breaker here is going to be, do you have a naturalistic explanation that explains the data for what happened on Easter morning 2,000 years ago?
Sure. Well, if we're going to talk about the Gospels, they were written decades after that date. They contradict one another.
Yeah, you're not answering my question, because
okay, for sure, but a naturalistic answer could be,
the scholarly consensus is that something happened Easter morning, something very interesting that convinced the people
of theologians around.
No, this is the consensus. This is not even debated among scholars.
Of course it is.
Okay, who debates it? Who's against what I'm saying here? Which scholar specifically? Name one. Just give me one scholar.
Ehrman.
Bart Ehrman agrees with what I'm saying.
How?
He literally agrees with what I'm saying. Go watch his debate with who's the guy with the big beard, Abraham? I don't know if you're still in the chat right now.
Aaron Raw.
No, it's not Aaron Raw. Jimmy Akin, thank you very much. Yeah, Jimmy Akin. Go watch his debate with Jimmy Akin. Bart concedes all these things with Jimmy Akin. He agrees with all of them.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. But at the same time, I strongly disagree with. Well, if we're talking about that date, a very perfectly honest, natural explanation could have been, hold on, let me take a step back here really quick. First of all, these are writings about a man that probably did exist by 4 different authors that have different discussions about it.
The scholarly consensus is that Jesus died under Pontius Pilate, and his followers genuinely believed there was a resurrection that happened on Easter morning. What is the naturalistic explanation for that? Because Bart Ehrman gives an example.
His body was stolen out of the grave overnight. What is the naturalistic explanation for there being an angel at the grave? Was there one angel or two angels?
Hold on. You don't just get the gay scallop, my friend. Okay. So his body was stolen. All right. Let me give you that. How do you explain the fact that the people who said that they saw him, said that they hung out with him, touched him, had dinner with him, for 40 days, 40 nights, if that's the case, if his body was stolen?
Because I don't believe that's true. I believe those were later writings about someone who was probably a charismatic apocalyptic preacher who they then, grew into this sort of
Okay,
myth.
so now you have an inconsistency, because then you will say one aspect of the Gospels is true, the documentation of the Pontius Pilate, the crucifixion, and his body, or them being convinced that he was resurrected. But then the very next verse is all of a sudden they're just like lying things, or it was added in later. Based off what evidence?
Well, I think there's a lot of evidence. For example, what were Jesus' last, because we're going to talk about the writings here, right? And the writings are already inconsistent. So,
right. So that's not the question I'm asking. I'm just simply asking you, what is the evidence that few verses later, it's now just being added in? Now, if you're simply going to say there's contradictions, well, then why do you trust the fact that he was crucified under Pontius Pilate?
I don't necessarily. I don't.
So you disagree with the scholarly consensus?
I think that it's a consensus that there's a man that lived whose name was Jesus and was an apocalypse.
That's not the scholarly consensus. Consensus. No, it's not. The scholarly consensus is that Jesus Christ.
Well, if we're just going to do appeals to authority, then why am I? We could do the same thing.
If you're going to just reject my appeal to authority, that's fine. Bring me some data to reject them.
Okay, for example, we have not seen a single miracle ever. Since
we literally have thousands of documented cases of miracles all the time. You can find videos of people getting out of wheelchairs after being prayed over. You can look up Bruce Van Natta, who was prayed over and has his intestines grow back.
Jesus Christ. Come on, man. Be serious about this.
You said there's not one. There's literally thousands.
There isn't.
There's thousands.
They are not documented. They are not evidence. They are not
Bruce Van Natta is documented. His intestines grew back after being prayed over.
So, I mean, I feel like this is just a very, if we go back to kind of the beginning of this conversation and we want to talk about what is most likely to be true, we want to talk about an honest interpretation.
So your issue is your priors. You just don't believe in miracles, so therefore it's not likely. That's your issue. It doesn't matter what evidence we bring forward. You're just going to reject it.
Then
you're just going to reject it because you have an appeal to naturalism.
So you have, fine. You have one example of one supposed miracle that, again, there was no doctors. There's no video.
There was doctors. There was video. There's no doctors. There's doctors, video, documentation, x-rays of his intestines.
There's not, dude. There's not.
Bruce Van Natta, yes, there is.
You are being fooled if you actually believe this.
Right, so that's the thing. You're saying there's no documentation. But then when I give you documentation, you're just saying
you're not giving me documentation. You're just saying that there is when I know there's not, because I've spent so much time. I'm
pointing you in the direction. Right? If you don't want to take the effort and look at the documentation,
I have done the effort.
You've looked at Bruce Van Natta.
I'm not him in specific, I guess. I don't know his name off the top of my head. However, I have spent a lot of time on this. I've gone and looked.
And so every single medical documentation, every single thing that we've seen that's been documented, you just reject it as them making it up.
Okay, if you have
there's Bruce Van Natta, there's Marlene Kleeps. This would be another one. Who had a horrible disease for her whole life, and after being prayed over, she sprung out of the bed and being able to walk again after she was told she'd never be able to do it.
Is there video of this? Is there
she has documented medical records that are out there that you can go. I don't have all that memorized, my friend. I apologize. I'm not a walking encyclopedia for you that can pull out every bit of information that you need 24/7.
Neither of us can.
Well, the thing is, I'm actually giving you direction to where you can look this stuff up. And you're just saying, I don't believe you. You don't believe me.
I could give, but the attitude you're giving me is the same attitude I'm giving you.
No, you're not. You haven't given me any source whatsoever. You gave me one source where you were wrong. You gave me Bart Ehrman, who does not agree with what you said.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't. Bart Ehrman wrote an entire book about Jesus Christ's existence.
Sure, Jesus Christ existed as an apocalyptic preacher.
Right.
That is his belief.
And he was crucified under Pontius Pilate, and his followers genuinely believed. Genuinely believed. I know this because one of the arguments that Bart Ehrman does to say this is more likely than a resurrection is to say that Jesus had a twin brother.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. That is on his debate with William Lane Craig.
Dude, no.
I'll bet you $1,000 he used that debate.
I'll take that bet. He does not.
Okay, hold on. You're taking that bet?
Sure.
Because I'm going to pull it up. And if he says right now that Jesus had a twin brother in his debate with William Lane Craig, you're going to transfer me $1,000. Are you taking that bet? I'm going to give you the chance to get out of it.
Hold on. What is the context here, though? My point is, Bart Ehrman does not actually say that Jesus Christ, the best answer for Jesus Christ's resurrection is that he had a twin brother. That's
not what I said. I said he uses the twin brother as an example to say it's more probable than somebody rising from the dead. But he even says in the debate that he does not think Jesus has a twin brother.
Oh, that's kind of completely different.
What I'm trying to show you is that he genuinely says Jesus Christ crucified under Pontius Pilate, and his followers genuinely believe he rose from the dead, because he has to give some sort of explanation on why they believe he rose from the dead. That's why he uses the twin brother explanation, because he says that's more likely than somebody actually rising from the dead.
But he doesn't believe that that's the actual. That's not what he believes happened.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Bart Ehrman said in his debate with oh, damn it, I'm forgetting his name. Hold on, I'll find his name for you in 2 seconds. Timothy McGrew, just remember. So in his debate with Timothy McGrew, Bart Ehrman admitted that if the Gospels were 100% had no contradictions, were completely reliable, he still wouldn't believe in God.
Because of the problem of human suffering.
Because of the problem of human suffering. So Bart Ehrman isn't saying that Jesus Christ didn't resurrect because the Gospels aren't convincing. Bart Ehrman is saying Jesus didn't resurrect because of his philosophical issues.
Well, I agree with what you're saying here. When you actually, and again, I'm not here to like glaze Bart Ehrman on any, I think he said some dumb stuff. He's just kind of the first guy that popped ahead.
I like Bart Ehrman. I think he's a genuine guy. I think he attempts to be honest, but I think he falls short.
But my point in bringing this up is that the consensus of Bible scholars that are not theologians is that Jesus was an apocalyptic preacher.
Yes.
Not that he ever performed any miracles. Not that he was ever raised from the dead.
Right. But
and that he was likely killed.
Hold on. That's not the question I'm asking you. The question I'm asking you is the stuff they do agree on. What is the best explanation for it? Because there's been none that's been brought forward. They
don't really agree that. No, but you will not see anywhere where Bart Ehrman says, and again, I don't like, I'm not trying to make an appeal to authority with Bart Ehrman, but I'm just saying, because he's who we're talking about right now, you will never see a place where Bart Ehrman says, oh yes, it is like, the day that Jesus apparently was resurrected has any sort of significance in history. There's no way he says that.
He does.
Okay, I don't have $1,000 to send you, but I'll give you $100 if you can pull up something that says that.
Yeah, so you can read his book, Misquoting Jesus.
I have it. I've read it many times.
Right, so in that book, he specifically talks about how the culture was largely affected on the belief that Jesus Christ resurrected from the dead. Even if Bart Ehrman doesn't say that, I can point you to Pliny the Younger, who lived at that time, who was persecuting and torturing Christians, and his documentation that he was writing, talking about the large effect that happened because of Christ. Like, there's no denying in scholarship that there was a huge effect, an outcome that happened, that people believed he rose from the dead. The earliest text that we have in Christianity is 1 Corinthians 15:3, that says that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. This is dated within 1 to 5 years according to, what the heck's his name? I'm forgetting it right now, but I can find it for you if you need it. Anyways, it's dated 1 to 5 years after Jesus' death, saying he died and resurrected from off the cross. There's no denying that people genuinely believe that he rose from the dead this time.
I guess my argument would be, I think, because I'll be honest, I believe that Jesus existed. I believe that he was a charismatic person. But for me, because I see and I know, you're going to say you gave me evidence of miracles. I don't believe that at this point. I'd have to go back. But I would have to say, if we're going to go back to this time frame.
Well, hold on. Let's pause there. What is your definition of evidence?
Video, recording.
That's an example. I want a definition.
A definition of evidence, I guess. Because for me, I try not to be binary. I try to keep an open mind. So any evidence would be at a current position in time, a piece of data that leads me to a conclusion that is most likely to be true at that point in time.
Okay, yeah, so that's close to the original definition of evidence is just a piece of information that raises the probability of something being true.
Correct.
So if you had a video of somebody being prayed over and then all of a sudden being able to walk, that doesn't mean miracles are true. But does that raise the probability of it being true?
It could, but then you would also have to weigh that against all of the prayers.
I agree. You have to weigh it against 100%, but it raises the probability.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. So then by definition, it is a piece of evidence.
Okay.
So there's literally thousands of documented cases of miracles. Some are peer reviewed, not all. There's very few, but some are, right? There's a lot with doctors' notes and doctors' recordings, not all. And there's a lot that's just videos, and there's just testimony, and there's just writings. Now you can be not convinced of that evidence, but the reality is there is a ridiculous amount of evidence out there.
I've gone through this evidence in the past, though, and I guess the problem for me with this is, okay, if I have a video of somebody that's in a wheelchair and just stands up, or if someone's prayed over them, that's in a religious setting already. We don't know if this is staged. We don't know if this is, but what we do know is we don't see people in MRI machines, all of a sudden regaining brain function while being scanned. We don't see people that have x-rays of broken bones and the next day the bones are recovered.
We have Bruce Van Natta. We have x-rays of his intestines.
Again, but that's one example, and I'm not familiar with it, so I promise look it up after. Yep. Because I am curious about it now. Like I said, I'm always interested in more data and more information. But then when we take this stuff, we also have to weigh that against the millions and billions of prayers that go out from Christians every day to save their children's lives, to recover from their diseases, and they don't. Billions of people die every day.
So there's a problem with this, is because for example, in the Catholic Church, if you go to one of their sermons, at the end of every service, they pray for all the sick of the world, right? Now, who's to say, and I know this doesn't prove anything, but you're saying we see prayer not working. Who's to say we don't know that a lot of these people getting healthy and getting better are simply because of those prayers?
Because we see it medically, the medical field has progressed, and
so this is a Christian worldview called common grace. We don't think that it's just always miracles, like people grow things back. We think through God's will, through common grace, he works through people and grants prayers.
Wouldn't it be more likely that under a naturalistic worldview that, in countries that have better healthcare and better medicine, we would see better results, which we do. And in countries with worse medicine and with, that are undeveloped, we would see poor results, which is exactly what we see. It's not based on prayer.
Yeah,
it's based on...
I agree with that. What I'm saying, my argument isn't proving religion. I don't think it proves it. What I'm saying is that you're saying it just doesn't work, right? And I'm saying, well, we have people praying all the time for the sick. We don't know what it'd be like if people weren't praying for the sick. So we don't have, if you're talking empirical, we don't have an A and B test.
I guess. I just feel like maybe I've kind of gotten off track here from everything, but because just coming back to our planet of belief and what is most likely to be true, how do we need to use empirical evidence to determine what is most likely to be true.
Well, empirical evidence only gets you into naturalistic measurements.
So is that maybe your belief regarding, or not your belief, but would that be your kind of...
Well, I'm saying there's truth. There's truth claims that we hold to that don't have any empirical evidence. So, for example, the human conscious experience. We all collectively agree that's true. We have no empirical evidence for it.
Right. I mean, I guess, because even for me, at this point, I kind of believe in a deterministic worldview at this point, because I think that's the most likely under the evidence that I see. So I guess for you, if you're looking at what I'm trying to say at this point, would your argument be, well, you don't, you're unwilling to accept anything other than empirical evidence, which is going to hinder your ability to accept any sort of religious claim beyond that?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take more than empirical evidence. You're the one who's conceding to only empirical evidence. I'm saying we have other ways of coming to the truth. This is why we have philosophy in the first place, because you cannot get to what is the ethical choices that we should make in our world through empirical evidence. We have to use philosophical groundings.
I don't really think that's true, though, because at the end of the day, that is a product of evolution. I don't really believe in morality at this point. I think that morality is an outcome of evolution and survival.
Right.
And
So all I'm saying is that we have different fields of study that don't use empirical evidence. I'm not doing an appeal to like morality. That's not what I'm doing here.
okay, cool. Well, thanks for the discussion, man. I've always enjoyed.